All right. Today we're going to be talking about the gut microbiome and gut health. And this is another very important topic to the art of bariatrics and mastering your metabolism. There is an entire universe inside you that needs your help. This universe is a collection or a collective of microorganisms. There's bacteria, there's viruses. It's believed that there are 100 to the power of three times more genetic information produced by bacteria that then interacts with your own genetics um, within the gut and on the body. The viruses actually outnumber the bacteria 100 to 1. So it's just an infinite source of both potential for health causing or health inducing interactions, but also for disease causing or weight gaining or inflammation causing causes. Your gut microbiome, which is these microorganisms that live in your gut, is seeded at birth, which means when you're born by vagina, hopefully by vagina, mother's bacteria in around the anus, in and around the vagina, come into contact with a baby's mouth, eyes, and skin, and the baby swallows it. And so it's the first real seeding, if you will. And so birth, how we're born, how we come into this world is really important. Being born by C-section versus being born by vaginally. What we're fed in early life is also really important. It sets you up for success. There was a study suggesting that women born by C-section between 1945 and I think 1947 had a 45% increased risk of type 2 diabetes. So science is really looking really closely at these gut interactions and these bacterial interactions. And the other fun fact here is we are all as unique as our individual fingerprints in terms of which organisms live in and reside in us. Why nutrition and nourishment is really important is because the food you eat determines the health of the microorganisms. And that's why in the Art of Bariatrics meal plan, we feature fiber, lots of colorful fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, beans, lentils. All of these things really feed the gut bacteria so that you don't need to supplement with probiotic pills. Inside your body are little niches. So a niche is a habitat. A niche can be like the plants that you see growing near a riverbank versus plants that you see growing in a desert. So different environments have different conditions, and it's based on these conditions that life, these microorganisms, have evolved to grow or to live in. The stomach being one of the most acidic and also least growth areas, all the way down through this rest of the small intestine to the colon, where the colon has the highest density of these microorganisms. A diet, so when I say the word diet, I mean what we eat every day, right? A way of living. So a microbiome diet for long-term weight loss after weight loss surgery means we eat fiber. And that fiber is technically a prebiotic. I'm sure I want to introduce these terms because there's a lot of supplements out there. The inulin supplement on the meal plan is a prebiotic fiber, it comes from plants. That fiber then feeds the bacteria, and that bacteria then eats it and then poops out a magical healing chemical called a short chain fatty acid, SCFA, or a postbiotic. Now, I think pretty soon you're also going to be seeing postbiotic supplements, but don't buy it because the research suggests that you can't get the same benefit from the supplement as you can from actually eating the real food and feeding the bacteria themselves. And I just did this little comparison here because oftentimes nighttime eating snack foods, high sugar, high salt, it does nothing to feed our microbiome, and it can make us more tired, more inflamed. What happens is you actually have less number of bacteria living in your body, and the types that grow in there are more likely to promote inflammation, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, I mean, lots and lots of things, liver disease. But when we feed our body fiber, you get all this benefit, all this activity benefit, right? So we have many different women here, different ethnicities, different body types, but the image is that they're taking care of their body, right? They're beautiful, they're radiant, they're exercising. So that's just what I'm trying to kind of convey here is that we can eat real food, nourish our body, and have a body that can work for us. There's also a connection between what goes on in the gut and what goes on in the brain. The gut and the brain are in constant communication, and this is called the gut brain axis. And this is also why the art of bariatrics not only talks about diet, nutrition, nourishment, but we also talk about stress, the stress response, our moods, our emotions. What happens in the gut is that the food we eat and the bacteria that's there, they make our serotonin. They make another neurotransmitter called GABA. These neurotransmitters are what then are released to the brain so that we have better emotional regulation. I'm sure you have been offered an antidepressant at one time. And if you haven't, consider yourself lucky because many, many people who are in the position of needing to lose weight or having weight loss surgery often um, have been offered one. The brain is constantly sensing from our environment using our eyes, our nose, our ears, and we're constantly sensing, is this environment safe or is this environment threatening? You can imagine what it's like to see a deer eating grass, and then that deer hears a loud snap of like a twig, and that deer will stop eating and its ears will turn forward and it'll start looking around and orienting to where it heard the sound, assessing whether or not it's safe. As soon as the deer feels like there's no threat, it will start eating again. But if it feels threatened, it will run. Our bodies really do work the same way. And so, this idea of gut health, because what happens in the brain goes down to the gut, and what happens in the gut can come back up to the brain, it's about taking care of all of these aspects of ourselves. The other fascinating thing to me is that the gut has stress hormone receptors. So, whenever we get activated to a level of alertness or level of threat, maybe it's a relationship issue, maybe it's being late, maybe it's healing from an injury, maybe it's an argument with the spouse, right? There's many different ways that stress can come up for us. But when we get that kind of high stress hormone kind of feeling, that anxiety kind of feeling, um, we get leaky gut. And leaky gut is where the stress hormone actually breaks the links or the connections between the cells at the gut level. This is very important. And it's really important for us to maintain this sense of balance and recognize stress, recognize stressful situations so that we can then create these many breaks of calm, relief, vacation, right? And we'll keep doing this work together, and I will continue to educate you on these concepts. So, the importance of eating fiber helps you maintain a healthy weight, hunger control, improved blood sugar regulation. It lowers inflammation, which means less pain, better mobility, less bloating, less abdominal pain. We have an elevated mood, or at least a deeper appreciation for feeling contentment because we have everything we need. Our body is making it all. We improve our sleep. Serotonin is actually the precursor neurotransmitter for melatonin. All of these biochemistry pathways, there's like a chain. One then goes into the next, and then one goes into the next. You also have improved liver function, and which helps you detoxify more easily. Being able to detoxify, again, helps your body move, helps your lymphatics move, helps you excrete excess. And we also can have a decreased risk of cancers, heart disease, dementia, and Alzheimer's, all through nourishing our gut microbiome. Weight loss surgery can affect the gut microbiome and in not so great ways. which is why I think Art of Bariatrics is a very unique nutritional program. Portion restriction can make it difficult to get enough fiber. That's why we've added fiber supplements to the meal plan. A gastric bypass or using antacids can change the environment in which bacteria grow in the stomach. So it actually raises pH a little bit beyond what is normal. And this can lead to symptoms of bloating, regurgitation, diarrhea, constipation, and an increased gas. Sometimes people can even report bad smelling breath because there's an increase in gas production in the bowel. A high protein diet that lacks fiber can cause that depressed mood and increased inflammation in the body. There's actually a correlation between gastric bypass and autoimmune disease. And the gut microbiome literature suggests that the origins of autoimmune disease is at that gut barrier of leaky gut and what organisms are there and how they're being fed. When the gut microbes are not happy, there's more inflammation in the immune system and the immune endocrine system, which also help further weight regain and illnesses. So our approach to fiber is to supplement because your pouch is small, your sleeve is small, and the goal is to get greater than 30 grams of fiber a day. In this first 4 week meal plan, we got you up to almost 20 pretty consistently, but it's not enough. So we have to ease our way into it. If you do too much fiber too soon, you can get too much bloating, too much gas, maybe even constipation, and you'll feel kind of miserable. So you do have to ease your way into it. And so we hope we can continue to work together to get you up to that 30 grams a day goal. And of course, probiotics. So instead of taking a probiotic capsule, just like we haven't had gyms for very long in our human history, we also haven't had probiotic capsules in our toolbox, so to speak. Instead, what we have is many cultures all around the world have been creating fermented foods for a very long time. And these fermented foods have living organisms in them. They also have numerous species of beneficial bacteria. And it also correlates with this whole foods approach to gut health because it has to be a plant food or like a dairy product, a natural dairy product, in order to properly ferment. The other thing is you get more value for your money. You get more benefit, more living organisms. When the organisms are alive, they're actively eating the food in which they are fermenting, which means they're making more of those short chain fatty acids, which is everything that you want. So throughout our meal plan, you've definitely seen sauerkraut. Kefir, Nancy's Kefir is one of my favorite brands. It has 13 different beneficial strains of probiotic bacteria. Miso, which is a soybean paste. It's a Japanese product. It is also delicious. There's kombucha. In order to make kombucha, the living organism in it is called a SCOBY, and SCOBY stands for symbiotic collection of bacteria. And the SCOBY is not only beneficial yeast for the body, but it's also beneficial bacteria. And then kimchi, which is a version of sauerkraut that's often quite spicy and quite flavorful. So I encourage you to experiment with these things. And then, of course, to stay on your modest portion sizes and calorie sort of guidelines. Just communicate with us what you like, how it's working, what you can do more of. You can eat unlimited amounts of sauerkraut and kimchi. You have my permission. When the gut is healthy, everything falls into place. And that has been a similar theme for us. When we're active and we're movement, it's like an anchor point for then eating healthy. When we're eating whole foods and preparing our meals, it's like an anchor point for then thinking about preparing the next one. So, what we're trying to do in this Renew program, the Art of Bariatrics, is we're trying to create these very special key pieces, key characteristics, and we're trying it on and we're seeing how everything influences each other. So, we have a journal activity for you. Did you poop today? Hopefully you did. Did it sink or float? A healthy stool should sink. Did you strain to poop? When we strain or push a lot to get stool out, we can end up causing hemorrhoids, and that's just another sign of a poor fiber diet. How long did you sit on the toilet? These are, again, signs of hemorrhoids and signs of constipation and signs that your bowels aren't emptying or moving correctly. Thank you guys for listening to the Gut Microbiome.